Hi everybody, Rad Mom here. Welcome back to my living room. Uh, we have the house to ourselves today. Yes, yes. So we're going to be taking the opportunity to revisit some old friends of ours because the young Turks are out there just making fools of themselves lately, just saying some of the most ridiculous shit. And this one is just the absolute first prize winner for best and biggest rhetorical reach maybe that I've ever seen. So like the video if you enjoy my content and subscribe to the channel for more of it. And let's dive in and see what they got. So it appears that Anna here is extremely upset with Jordan Peterson.
While women have had their reproductive rights stripped away from them, with the federal government essentially stepping in, or I should say state governments stepping in and telling them what they can and can't do with their bodies, Jordan Peterson will have you know that the real victims in this country are people like him, people like Dave Rubin, people like Ben Shapiro, and other mansion dwellers who found out the hard way, I guess, that there might be some consequences on social media platforms if you violate their terms of service, which are very clear and stated on the platforms.
Which doesn't take into account the nature of the rules, right? Or the fact that, yeah, what's affecting him affects everybody, but we'll get there.
Now, Jordan Peterson is still crying about being suspended from Twitter after he decided to go after an actor who identifies as transgender. We covered this, but it's continuing. So here's some context before we go to Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro. Last week, Jordan...
Okay, but we all know what this is about now because we covered this in the video the other day, right? Yeah. What she's about to say, what she and Shank, one of our other favorites, are about to say, but this is just... I just had to. I had to.
Peterson was suspended for tweeting this. Remember when pride was a sin and Ellen Page just had her breast removed by a criminal physician?
Now, I'm not a fan of Jordan Peterson, okay? Because he's a misogynist, and I feel pretty safe in saying that because of some of the things that I've seen come out of his mouth and some of the things that I've heard that he has done. So, for example, he once said that women need to have a family. Like right there, bam, done. It's the same reason I don't have a religion. And like if I can go without faith, I can definitely go without Jordan Peterson. So I'm not here to defend him in any way, but like first of all, this tweet doesn't quite even make any sense, does it? Remember when pride was a sin, back in the good old days, and Ellen Page just had her breasts removed, like back in the good old days. Like it's two disconnected thoughts, right? And I already made the point in the other video that the physician's not technically a criminal because what they did was not against the law when they did it. And what happens in the future with that is just a moot point, even if it does happen. You can't prosecute people for things that were legal when they did them. Not how the law works. But it's not ethical. That's for damn sure. And, people seem to forget that something being legal does not make it right because ethics and law are two completely separate things.
So what he did there was more of the same, okay? Going after the transgender community, in this case, dead naming Elliot Page, who identifies as male, and makes a weird comment about breast removal, which makes him even more creepy than I previously thought.
He's definitely creepy, but like I had to have a conversation with my 14-year-old son the other day about well, I didn't have to. I did have a conversation with him, and one of the things came up was the concept of dead naming, and he was surprised to find out that it actually just means calling somebody by an old name that they don't like anymore. Which, honestly, I don't have a problem with that as a concept by itself. I've run into it in different contexts. For example, maybe an old nickname that an abuser calls someone when they were growing up that they don't want anyone to ever use again. Okay, no problem. Right? Like, that's not the issue here. The name's not the issue. But Twitter made the name the issue which is part of the problem, in my opinion. Here we go.
Now, he was notified about why the suspension happened, and the terms of service specifically said you may not promote violence against, threaten, or harass other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious affiliation, yada yada. You guys get the point.
And somebody pointed out to me. I had missed this, so thank you. I forget who it was. But this was not my own observations, sadly, that their sex isn't even on there. Like what? So you know, by Twitter's own rules, harassing or threatening somebody because of their sex is totally okay by default. No? How fucked up is that? And you know, this is actually pretty boilerplate stuff, right? For basically any social media. So her point that, you know, Jordan Peterson probably knew, you know, that this was going to get him in trouble, is a valid one, I think. I hate that word, but there it is. It's logical to deduce that perhaps he had some idea that he was being incendiary and inflammatory and offensive and whatever, courting controversy, as it were. But I think it snowballed a little on him.
Jordan Peterson, like other right-wingers, love to intentionally violate the terms of service, so they get suspended, and then they become martyrs. Then they become part of this never-ending oppression Olympics, even as normal people are actually being oppressed by our politicians as we speak.
Ooh, hello, whataboutism, right? Because is he taking advantage of it? I mean, yeah, probably, because he's a little self-absorbed. You kind of have to be in order to get to be the sort of person that Jordan Peterson is. You have to be a little self-righteous to write more than one book about how other people should live their lives, right? So the fact that he would be taking advantage of this makes perfect sense, just in line with who the sort of person that I think he is. But you know, this is whataboutism. Like, yes, other people are touched more by the authoritarian creep, because that's what this is. That we all know is happening. So she's just her trying to discredit him complaining about it. Kind of smells a little bit. I think it stinks.
So, by the way, Babylon Bee also got suspended for similar commentary on Twitter. And Jordan Peterson has really taken a stand here, okay? He released a video on YouTube in which he compared any kind of gender-affirming surgery to Nazi experimentation. So why don't we take a quick look at that?
And I gotta say, ooh. Woohoo! Thank you so much for getting us up over 500, you guys. We're going to get t-shirts, and if you buy one, I'm going to sink the very first few cents that I get into getting some YouTube premium so I don't have to fight the ads anymore.
With regard to the final phrase, criminal physician, I must say that I've had some post-coital, so to speak, regrets about that phrase.
Hey, see, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, ew. Nobody wants to hear about that, dude. No, nobody wants to hear about it. I don't. Ew. What a metaphor. Ugh.
It is clearly the case that the surgical operation performed by the butchers who butchered Elliot/Ellen was legal. So, was it criminal or not? Were the operations undertaken by the fascist physicians who carried out the Nazi medical experiments legal? Yeah.
I don't understand. Isn't he a professor of, well, a former professor? But for, you know, he's famous, like, philosophical dude. I don't know if he was a professor of philosophy or whatever it was that he taught. I don't know that. I don't care. It's not the point. Shouldn't he know what ethics are?
Yes, under the laws of the time. But were they criminal? I'll leave that question up to you to answer.
This is like at a time when we're seeing,
like, he's clearly making a legal versus moral or ethical point, right? I don't understand, Jordan. Why don't you use those words? They're very simple and commonly known by many people. You know, these are not esoteric words, dude. Why does he have to be so obtuse? Why is he being vague? Why is he dragging Nazis into it? Like, that's stupid. Can we just say we're not going to compare anyone to them anymore? Can we just stop that, please? Can we just stop? Because it's lost, I think, to me at least. I'm completely at like sensory satiation with that concept, that comparison. It doesn't do anything to me anymore. I feel nothing. Okay, it's like comparing people to Darth Vader. Don't do it.
Never-ending mass shootings in this country perpetrated by young men. I think it's problematic that that guy is the advice guru, the lifestyle guru. That guy is unhinged and should not be giving anyone advice. But anyway, no, there was no criminal activity in the gender-affirming surgery that was performed on Elliot Page.
Because again, it depends on whether you're talking legally or ethically.
Criminality would indicate that laws were broken. A person who did that surgery would be prosecuted for that.
Right, see, but this is a kind of doublespeak that just confuses people and turns them against one another. Turns us against one another. Okay. It's another version, another flavor of the classic partisan hackery that I was talking about the other day in the Lauren Chen video. So they're talking at cross purposes, and she's not going to acknowledge that at all because it would completely ruin her point.
There is no prosecution because there was no criminality. We have more.
Because everyone understands this distinction between morality and legality. We all understand that. It's very simple. Like a kindergartner could probably understand that. Okay. So for her to just sit there and willfully just, act like she has no idea what he means. Again, it stinks.
From this lunatic, but before we get to it.
So there's a twist here in a second. But first, he looks like, I haven't watched that Man in the High Castle, but it feels like that kind of vibe from the commercials, right?
Okay. Well, I have to give him this one too a bit, because if he's obviously not concerned about the issue that his image has with the whole old privileged white dude thing, because that video did not do anything at all about that problem.
Like, he looks like an evil guy, and he sounds so weird. And why did you shoot it from the side? Are you trying to be artistic? I thought this was like an emotional plea.
It's just creepy.
Like, everything about this guy is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm creepy. It's 20.
What was his?
I mean, I don't know about that, but I can't argue. Definitely getting a stay away from that guy vibe. Yeah. No. I'm not a fan of Jordan Peterson. I don't hate him. I don't care much. The only reason I care about him at all is because so many other people do, and I do try to keep some tabs on what the fuck is going on in the world.
This comment about post-coital, like,
yeah, what was
no one buys your post-coital anything.
But he didn't have any logical connection.
No, but he has his memories. I'm sure.
To anything else he was saying. He just wanted to say post-coital, partly because he knows that his followers don't understand it. So they're like, "Oh, he's an intellectual." Every time I see Jordan Peterson, I laugh.
This guy. Oh, the irony and the lack of self-awareness to say that. So funny coming from Mr. What's the Downside of Cheap Sex?
Every time I hear him speak, because they think he's an intellectual, that just endlessly amuses me. Okay, so now,
Can the hot jocks please stop hoarding all the hot women? It's really unfair to all the unattractive loser men who aren't getting laid. That's Jordan Peterson.
That was
Kind of.
An intellectual argument, yeah. Okay, anyways, so now the twist for me is, I think Twitter's policy is wrong. So not on the harassment and the et cetera, which is what Anna read you, but there is something very specific in there in their application. So if they dead name someone who is transition, they're automatically suspended. I don't agree with that rule. Now, do I think that you should dead name people? No. I think that the whole world is picking on trans people, or at least the country is, and pretending it's the most important issue. No, it's not the most important issue. And
Agreed. It's funny how there's like an unholy trifecta of shit going on out there. Just, the most massive shitstorm in like a century, right? Disease, war, famine, inflation, right? And yet, for some reason, not just people, but the legislators are busy dealing with, the poor beleaguered trans people who need to be transferred into the women's prison and need to be able to get into the toilets and the locker rooms that fits their gender identity, or they will just absolutely throw themselves into traffic. We're all so preoccupied with this. Agreed. It's weird and dumb. Just a little more.
You shouldn't pick on them. I don't know what's wrong with all of you people. And by the way, the real victims are not the ones who live in the mansions, as Anna pointed out, but there's been over 600 laws passed against the LGBTQ community just over the last couple of years, all by Republicans. So, no, there are real victims. They are trans, and they are in the LGBTQ community overall, and they're actually legally trying to oppress them and take away their rights. That being said, I don't think that it should be suspension just as...
Okay. So, we're not picking on them, goddammit. I'm the one who has lost my legal status. I mean, you saw on their goddamn, excuse me, terms of service, which is the legal document that you have to essentially sign when you join. Okay, that's the legal part of it. Like, sex isn't even mentioned. It's more than a little bothersome. That bothers me. Yeah. The more and more I think about it, because, we all know that they have redefined Title IX to be sex, gender identity, or sexual orientation, right? Which, how in the fuck sex or sexual orientation has any regard for anything if you have gender identity in there, because it negates them both? I have no fucking idea. So I guess they are probably, there's the letter of the law and then there's the practice of the law, right? They can just ignore them both because effectively they don't matter now. And now I have also lost, because I live in a conservative state, I have lost, bodily autonomy. I am so tired of saying that phrase. I have lost significant legal rights, legal abilities, legal authority over my own life in the last several months. So, I don't think that those morons can play on the sports team that's for their sex, designated for their sex. They can play on their own fucking sports team. They can swim on their own fucking swim teams. They can form their own goddamn knitting clubs for all I care. But they don't want to do that. They have to be affirmed or they will just die. How in the fuck people don't see that sounds exactly like a 12-year-old throwing a tantrum because you won't let her go out on a school night. If you don't let me do this, I will just die. Hello. They sound like children. We should not be allowing them to dictate the direction of our legislation. Their priorities are definitely not our priorities. Why are we picking on them? God damn it. Oh, fuck you, Chank. Seriously, you expect people to take you seriously as a journalist, and I wish that I could laugh. I'm really trying to. Really trying to laugh, because you laugh or you cry, right? Yeah.
Say the dead name. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's hard to avoid. When you're talking about, for example, Caitlyn Jenner, when she was in the Olympics, what are you supposed to call her? So I think that's a legitimate, interesting question, and I don't think that is worthy of a suspension.
I think there are well-intentioned people who are doing their best, and we got to be understanding, right? Not everyone is, deeply engaged in these topics, in these issues. They might not be as informed as we would like them to be, whatever it is. And so they might unwittingly tweet something that is offensive. They might accidentally dead name someone. And I see what you're saying. I think that it is an interesting, nuanced conversation. But at the same time, I do want to differentiate that from what is very much intentionally happening with people like Jordan Peterson, who...
because there's a difference between a mistake and antagonism and harassment, right? We all understand that too. Again, a small child understands that. So, bravo. Brilliant point. And here she's actually arguing for taking things on a case-by-case basis, which is like what I was saying the other day, right? You have to actually look at the thing. just coming up with broad, sweeping rules for stuff ends up with us having these bullshit conversations of black and white thinking about just simple conversations culturally that need to be had. And these morons are feeding into it. And I guess that's how they get their views and make their money, which is sad and kind of pathetic because, like, it's not 1997 up in this bitch, y'all. Like, come on, grow the fuck up.
Like this is his bread and butter. This is how his entire career started. Let's just be real about that, right? Making himself the martyr, making himself the one who's wrong, making himself the one who's somehow oppressed, even though he's raking in millions, giving guru speeches across the country, if not the world. Homeboy's good, okay? He is not some sort of oppressed victim. He has turned this into his grift, and it's been very profitable for him. So what they do, and of course, Stephen Crowder does it, all these right-wing grifters do it. They intentionally violate the terms of service for an online platform that is not owned by the government, that is a private company or a publicly traded company, which means that the constitutional rights that are, that protect our free speech do not apply to this business.
Right, but like, excuse me, they tend to reflect them, don't they? And it's part of the public sphere at this point. It could be argued, definitely. I think that they have a responsibility to, not over police speech. But this is just seen as normal because of the authoritarian creep that's affecting everyone. And that's what he's talking about. The fact that he is less affected than, say, a lot of other people makes sense because he's a lot more privileged than other people. So then just to write off someone like him trying to draw attention to this sort of thing, whose interest does that serve?
Right? But they know that and they don't care. They still make themselves out to be the oppressed ones. I've never seen Jordan Peterson or any other right-winger who's constantly crying about being suspended from Twitter after very much intentionally violating their TOS, say anything about the anti-BDS legislation that literally allows the government to punish people who engage in the boycott and divestment movement for the Israeli government.
Okay, I don't really know anything about that at all. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because wouldn't that be the opposite of Citizens United, where money was ruled to be speech? And therefore we have freedom of money. And, that's how we've got all the super PACs and the dark money that's been fucking up our politics for the last at least like a decade or whatever since that decision. Wouldn't this be the opposite of that? They are literally prosecuting people for donating money to a political cause. Can someone explain this to me?
They have no problem with that, even though, in my opinion, the government punishing you for your political speech is a violation of the First Amendment. They don't care about that. They're the real victims here. They're the real oppressed ones. You have another idiot like Dave Rubin jumping in on the grift. We'll get to him in a second. But first, I want to go to the next video because here's Jordan Peterson saying that he would rather die than delete the tweet that got him suspended. Let's watch.
In response to the decision of an actor named Elliot Page, I am employing this awkward and impossible naming style because it is now apparently mandatory and am probably doing it wrong nonetheless, as you're doing it wrong is the whole point of what is being made mandatory. But also,
I think that's his way of saying the pronouns are rohypnol.
So I'm trying to make a point. I've essentially been banned from Twitter as a consequence. I say banned, although technically I have been suspended. But the suspension will not be lifted unless I delete the hateful tweet in question, and I would rather die than do that.
Which is so... Oh. Buy a t-shirt, help me kill the ads. Yeah. Anyway, that is so ridiculous that he would rather die than delete the tweet because, like, dude, no one can see it anyway. Like, if your account is suspended, then no one can see it anyway. What is the point? Since apparently I have heard in various places that Jordan Peterson apparently seems to quite enjoy Twitter.
A 10-year-old girl was just impregnated by her rapist in Ohio. 10-year-old girl. She's pregnant. She had to travel out of state to Indiana to get an abortion because...
Indiana. She went to Indiana for an abortion. Like, half my family lives in Indiana, and that's very strange to me. Indiana is more conservative than Ohio usually. Like, really? They didn't have trap laws set up? That's surprising to me. No joke.
Her state of Ohio has effectively banned all abortions after 6 weeks. That 10-year-old who was carrying a rapist child and was further victimized by the state, that's someone who's being oppressed.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Like, we all feel really awful about that. Thanks for sharing. But, the whataboutism, like, this is what I was saying in the beginning about one of the biggest reaches I've ever seen in my life. Why in the fuck, wasn't this the headline? Why in the fuck aren't you bringing this story to people's attention to, I don't know, like, raise money for that poor kid or something? Just a thought. And, that would have been an actual news story. Journalists, whee! If you can hear the scratching, that's my dogs trying to get in the door, and they're not going to come in until we're done because they're loud. So, sorry, puppies. You're fine. They're fine. Excuse me. Anyway, so, obviously a poor young girl is going to be much worse affected by the authoritarian creep than someone like Jordan Peterson. That doesn't mean that what he's saying is invalid. That doesn't ruin, that doesn't take away from his point. It sort of builds on his point. If you actually wanted to look at the systemic issues that are going on here, but of course you don't, because they don't align with your agenda this time. This is not a systemic issue that you actually want to address, so you're going to make it a case by case thing. Look at just the individuals, and you're going to drag this other person, because, okay, I do believe in looking at things by a case basis, but at the same time, hello, balance, you have to look at the bigger issues as well. Duh. It's not rocket science. People, I'm sure that y'all understood that. Just want to be clear, though. This whataboutism, what she's saying, builds on his complaint. It's the same thing that's oppressing this girl that's up Jordan Peterson's nose. It's the same thing. He's just, a much bigger individual. So it's bothering him a lot less. Like, duh.
Jordan Peterson, he could barely even act. Like, he's acting throughout that video. What a clown. You are not a victim. You are not oppressed. Intentionally violating the terms of service for Twitter and then getting suspended as a result does not make you a martyr. It doesn't make you a victim. It makes you a massive, pathetic grifter. How much money is enough? I want to know. How much money is enough? And by the way, with all that money, you would think that this man would have, I don't know, the common sense to buy a suit that's not ill-fitting.
Damn. She just goes for the jugular there. And is mad. And I get the feeling that she just really doesn't like Jordan Peterson at all. Excuse me. But like, money could buy him a tailor, but it definitely can't buy common sense. Like, she's just not even making any sense right now.
But no, can't be bothered with that either. He's got to look like a clown, both physically and sound like a clown every time he speaks.
Yeah. So they would never want to be actual victims. That 10-year-old was raped. And then forget the 9 months that the Republicans and right-wingers want her to carry the baby. Don't.
Oh my God, it's using her as like a wedge, as a sob story to make a point. Gross.
But we take that out of the equation when you're talking about Jordan Peterson. Imagine if he suffered something like that, and then they said, oh, by the way, you're the guy who raped you. There's a random kid of his. You have to take care of that kid for the rest of your life.
I'm sorry, are you trying to say that that's what that would be in any way like that? I don't think that you reached. I don't think you got there, Chang.
Imagine how Jordan Peterson would react. You'd be like, what is this? Like, no, nobody actually wants to be a victim. Being a victim sucks. It's terrible. You guys only like it because you're fake victims. It doesn't actually hurt you at all. And you say things like, oh, my First Amendment rights, because your followers aren't bright enough to understand the First Amendment. So here.
God damn. So he thinks all of his followers are stupid. That's real nice.
But I have an easy solution to all of this. Peterson said, I'm not taking down that tweet or acknowledging that my tweet violated the Twitter rules. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. Twitter's a rat hole in the final analysis.
Great, log off.
That's it.
Log off, Grandpa.
No, but that's...
Log off.
No, we've already accomplished the mission.
If you don't like it, leave. Okay, well, fuck improving anything.
For the first time, we agree with Jordan Peterson, and not in his analysis of Twitter, but in that Twitter suspended you. You don't want to be on Twitter. Everybody's a winner.
Great.
Okay, great. Then why are you still crying?
Because it's his bread and butter. That's how he makes his money. Dave Rubin also got banned after he tweeted in defense of Jordan Peterson. The insanity continues at Twitter. Jordan Peterson has been suspended for his tweet about Ellen Page, again, dead naming Elliot Page. He just told me he will never delete that tweet. And then they always go cry to their, like little tattletales, crying to their little daddy.
Yeah, no, they do. They want a savior, don't they? They're so bad. They want a white knight so bad. It's sad. But like, that one might have been on purpose. I really don't know Dave Rubin. Because I don't watch a lot of right-wing media. Shock. I know. But yeah, I think this one might have been on purpose because, like, if you know why Jordan Peterson got suspended, then doing the same thing, yeah, I think that one might have been on purpose.
Elon Musk, who can't do a damn thing because he hasn't purchased Twitter, and it's very likely he will renege on that deal. So paging Elon Musk, please, Daddy, please come to our defense. Anyway, he got suspended for that tweet, which, again, it's a violation of their terms of service. He knows it, but they love it. They love it every time they get suspended or banned. It's a perfect way to continue that grift.
Okay, so, but to say that they always do that on purpose for money, I don't know. Girlfriend, not everything is about you.
Yeah. Imagine if I told you guys, Trump's platform, Truth Social. I went on there and then they banned me. They're terrible. Truth Social is the worst. Like, what? Oh, yeah. We hate that thing, but we got to be on it because otherwise, how can we yell at liberals?
That's right. I almost forgot about this one. This one's a doozy.
Right? But for the right wing, they all find it totally normal. They're like, oh, yeah. We hate that thing, but we got to be on it because otherwise, how can we yell at liberals and progressives and do the only thing that we care about, which is hating and oppressing other people?
That was literally an ad featuring a trans woman. So, wait. What he just said there is kind of shocking if you think about it. That the only thing right wingers enjoy is hating people and oppressing them. How in the hell do you expect to win anyone over to your side, over to your argument? How in the fuck do you expect to reason with anyone? How in the world can you relate to people who don't agree with you on these things when that's how you talk about them? And you expect anyone to take you seriously? Do you expect anyone to listen to a single thing that comes out of your mouth when that's how you refer to them? So, conservative people are just evil and lost to the dark side. Is that it? I'm sorry, I keep making Star Wars metaphors, but what was it? We were watching the Kenobi thing the other night. So, yeah. Nerds. Whee! Yeah, it's all right. As a show. This is not a review channel, but God, that would be fun. Hey, you know what? If y'all want me to start a movie review channel, King Critical did it. It's a beautiful thing. I would love to do that. That would be so much fun. If there's any interest whatsoever, like 2 comments, and I might do it. Just for fun. Just see what happens. Anyway, so Shank is being extremely bigoted right here. And again, I'm going to draw attention to the fact that he expects to be taken seriously as a journalist and laughs at Jordan Peterson when he himself is Mr. What's the downside to cheap sex? So, I don't think anyone should take him seriously about anything, and Anna's just really mad. And they said some really, really ridiculous shit, and it gives me the opportunity to kind of comment on Jordan Peterson, and thank you so much for tuning in and sticking with me through this nonsense. Picking it apart is just so much fun to me. I don't know. I am a nerd. So, I appreciate you guys coming in and nerding out with me so much. So like the video if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this. We are doing feminism from a materialist perspective here. I've been Red Mom, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.